Hi, we're here today in our Q&A corner where Tracy is going to give us a lovely intro into our hip flexor, overactive, and
Glutes.
glutes, yes.
Firstly, I can recommend that if you're in a hot climate and you've just done a workout, put your feet in the pool. We've just finished filming a bar series, and the focus of that bar series was working on hamstring glute strength and internal and external rotation at the hip joint. So I know some of you will have felt a bit of a burn in your quads, which is good. But if you felt excruciating burn there, it would be that you weren't using your hip flexors or functionally using your hip flexors, or that you were a little weak in your glutes and your hamstrings. So if you want to strengthen your glutes and your hamstrings, there are many ways. You can lie prone and do your single leg reaches, or you can do the small sequence of bar work that we've just completed. Now the thing about doing that is if you're standing, and I'll demonstrate, if you're standing in a turned out position, either with a wide stance or together, when you bend and do your bounces, you want to feel like you're pushing down through the floor to give you the spring to come up, because that will actually get you to work and lift your glutes and hamstrings while supported with your abdominals, keeping your spine nice and long, and then you will feel that you've got the strength so that you don't overwork through here. Because the downside of overworking through your quads, your secondary hip flexors, is that you're probably likely to be overactive in your larger psoas group of hip flexor muscles. And Kai's going to tell you what can happen if you do that. From oversitting is a bad one, and other things as well.
And from personal experience, I can tell you that our hip flexors, especially our big psoas muscle, it's about this thick. It's one of the thickest muscle tendons to attach. So it actually attaches into your lower spine and it attaches to the vertebrae of your lumbar spine. So when it goes to functionally flex you at the hip, that's fantastic because it can lift your entire leg with the strength of that muscle. However, if you sit in a compressed position, it'll start to grip too much, and when you need to stand upright, it'll actually compress through your lumbar vertebrae and you won't be able to achieve a nice elongated spine, which can eventually lead to disc issues and so forth. Also overactive through the quads can pull your femur or your patella out of place because you're so tight through here, and then eventually you end up becoming like an old lady and down in through here.
Just let me add, there's nothing wrong with an old lady with good posture. It's only an old lady with bad posture we're not so happy with.
Or an old man with bad
Yeah.
posture. You know, they're both interchangeable.
So stay with us and you'll keep your good posture.
So we're going to show you a functional way to use your hip flexors now. So we're going to do a few knee floats. So technically a knee float is hip flexion, but you're actually doing it in a way that your hip is comfortable, so your pelvis is in neutral, and then you bend up through the hip, keeping your leg at the same degree of bend, and that's a safe degree of hip flexion. So we normally do them lying down, where you will lie down flat and abs are on and your feet, just imagine mine are on the ground, and then you inhale, exhale, you float the leg up to 90 degrees. No further, you're just getting a little bit of contraction in through there and you lower it down. Doing a few of these every day and in between your computer work will really help to keep your hip flexor active without being too aggressively contracted. And now we're also going to show you, if you've done that too, you've done the hip flexor functional movement, you need to do a bit of a stretch because you're a bit too tight to do a functional movement. We're going to take you into a hip flexor stretch, which is coming up. I've got a pillow because we're on hard surface, although no love for Tracy over there on
I'm going to tough it out.
And then we're going to pop your knee down and your other leg comes up and your hips actually come forward a little bit, tucking that back toe under. And if you need to get a bit more stretch, if you're extra flexible, you can pop your foot on something a bit more elevated, and you can even reach up that same arm and do a little bit of a side bend to pull that psoas up, because it runs from here in through your stomach and out the back. So reaching up and getting that stretch through your stomach is really ideal for this type of work. And coming down, making sure to do both sides. And you will notice a difference from one side to the other because technically, you know, no one's really built even, are they? As much as we'd like to. Up to the ceiling, and we're going to side bend over again. And you just want to make sure that that knee doesn't go too far over the toe. It keeps pretty well stacked. And back. So I hope you enjoy our Q&A corner today and get a little bit of relief from those tight and sore hip flexors.
That feels good.
It does, doesn't it? And even better, to be able to go into the pool afterwards